Hello, friends! Finishing up with Frankenstein today and tomorrow. So, this is gonna be fun. Also, again, my hair gets crazier the longer we're in quarantine. This is just bad. It's a bad plan. Hi, friends. So, remember, Frankenstein is a frame story. So, this all starts out as this guy, Robert Walton, who is writing to his sister. And now we have gone all the way down our framework and we've almost come all the way back out. We have finished Victor's story. And so at the end of Victor's tale is when he gets pulled onto Walton's boat and tells Walton to please, if I die, finish this for me. Finish this out. Like, please kill this creature. Don't listen to him. He's very persuasive, but don't listen to him. Just kill him. Kill him dead. So today we are picking up with the last of Robert Walton's letters to his sister, and we're going to see what comes of that. It's real fun. We're going to do this in two parts because the last one is a bit long, and I neither have the vocal cords nor the time. Have I mentioned that not only am I having to pack up my classroom right now, but I'm also having to pack up everything that I own and move and possibly be living on my mother's couch for 3 months? It's fun. So here we go. Walton in continuation, August 26, 17 blank. You have read this strange and terrific story, Margaret, and do you not feel your blood congealed with horror, like that which even now curdles mine? Sometimes, seized with the sudden agony, he could not continue his tale. At others, his voice, broken yet piercing, uttered with difficulty the words so replete with agony. His fine and lovely eyes were now lighted up with indignation, now subdued to downcast sorrow, and quenched in infinite wretchedness. Sometimes he commanded his countenance in tones and related the most horrible incidents with a tranquil voice, suppressing every mark of agitation. Then, like a volcano bursting forth, his face would suddenly change to an expression of the wildest rage as he shrieked out imprecations on his persecutor. His tale is connected and told with an appearance of the simplest truth. Yet, I own to you that the letters of Felix and Sophie, which he showed me, and the apparition of the monster seen from our ship, brought to me a greater conviction of the truth of his narrative than his asseverations, however earnest and connected. Such a monster has then really existence. I cannot doubt it, yet I am lost in surprise and admiration. Sometimes I endeavor to gain from Frankenstein the particulars of his creature's formation, but on this point he was impenetrable. Are you mad, my friend? said he. Or whither does your senseless curiosity lead you? Would you also create for your own self the world a demoniacal enemy? Or to what your questions tend? Peace, peace. Learn my miseries and do not seek to increase your own. Frankenstein discovered that I made notes concerning his history. He asked to see them, and then himself corrected and augmented them in many places, but principally in giving the life and spirit to the conversations he held with his enemy. Since you have preserved my narration, said he, I would not that a mutilated one should go down to posterity. Thus a week has passed away, while I have listened to the strangest tale that ever imagination formed. My thoughts and every feeling of my soul have been drunk up by the interest for my guest, which this tale and his own elevated and gentle manners have created. I wish to soothe him, yet can I counsel one so infinitely miserable, so destitute of every hope of consolation to live? Oh, no. The only joy that he can now know will be when he composes his shattered feelings to peace and death. Yet he enjoys one comfort, the offspring of solitude and delirium. He believes that when in dreams he holds conversation with his friends and derives from that communion consolation for his miseries or excitements to his vengeance, that they are not the creations of his fancy, but the real beings who visit him from the regions of a remote world. This faith gives a solemnity to his reveries that render them to me almost as imposing, as interesting as truth. Our conversations are not always confined to his history and misfortune. On every point of general literature, he displays unbound knowledge and a quick and piercing apprehension. His eloquence is forcible and touching, nor can I hear him when he relates a pathetic incident or endeavor to move the passions of pity or love without tears. What a glorious creature must he have been in the days of his prosperity, when he is thus noble and godlike in ruin. He seems to feel his own worth and the greatness of his fall. When younger, said he, I felt as if I were predestined for some great enterprise. My feelings are profound, but I possessed a coolness of judgment that fitted me for illustrious achievements. This sentiment of worth and of my nature supported me, when others would have been oppressed, for I deemed it criminal to throw away in useless grief those talents that might be useful to my fellow creatures. When I reflected on the work I had completed, no less a one than the creation of a sensitive and rational animal, I could not rank myself with the herd of common projectors. But this feeling, which supported me in the commencement of my career, now serves only to plunge me lower in the dust. All my speculations in omnipotence, and I am chained in an eternal hell. My imagination was vivid, yet my powers of analysis and application were intense. By the union of these qualities, I conceived the idea and executed the creation of a man. Even now, I cannot recollect without passion my reveries while the work was incomplete. I trod heaven in my thoughts, now exulting in my powers, now burning with the idea of their effects. From my infancy, I was imbued with high hopes and lofty ambition, but how I am sunk! Oh, my friend, if you had known me as I once was, you would not recognize me in this state of degradation. Despondency rarely visited my heart. A high destiny seemed to bear me on until I fell, never again to rise. Must I then lose this admirable being? I have longed for a friend. I have sought one who would sympathize with and love me. Behold, on these desert seas I have found such a one, but I fear I have gained him only to know his value and to lose him. I would reconcile him to life, but he repulses the idea. I thank you, Walton, he said, for your kind intentions towards so miserable a wretch, but when you speak of new ties and fresh affections, think that any can replace those who are gone? Can any man be to me as Clerval was, or any woman another Elizabeth? Even where the affections were not strongly moved by any superior excellence, the companions of our childhood always possess a certain power over our minds, which hardly any later friend can obtain. They know our infantine dispositions, which, however they may be afterwards modified, are never eradicated, and they can judge of our actions with more certain conclusions as to the integrity of our motives. A sister or a brother can never, unless indeed such symptoms have been shown early, suspect the other of fraud or false dealing, when another friend, however strongly he may be attached, may, in spite of himself, he invaded with suspicion. But I enjoyed friends, dear not only through habit and association, but from their own merits, and wherever I am, the soothing voice of my Elizabeth and the conversations of Clerval will be ever whispered in my ear. They are dead, and but one feeling in such a solitude can persuade me to preserve my life. If I were engaged in any high undertakings or designs, fraught with the extensive utility of my fellow creatures, then I could live to fulfill it. But such is not my destiny. I must pursue and destroy the being whom I gave existence, then my lot on earth will be fulfilled and I may die. September 2nd. My beloved sister, I write to you, encompassed by peril and ignorant whether I am doomed to ever see dear England and the dearer friends that inhabit it. I am surrounded by mountains of ice, which admit of no escape and threaten every moment to crush my vessel. The brave fellows whom I have persuaded to be my companions look towards me for aid, but I have none to bestow. There is something terribly appalling in our situation, yet my courage and hopes do not desert me. We may survive, and if we do not, I will repeat the lessons of my Seneca and die with a good heart. Yet what, Margaret, will be the state of your mind? You will not hear of my destruction, and you will anxiously await my return. Years will pass, and you will have visitings of despair, and yet be tortured by hope. Oh, my beloved sister, The sickening failings of your heartfelt expectations are, in prospect, more terrible to me than my own death. But you have a husband and lovely children. You may be happy. Heaven bless you and make you so. My unfortunate guest regards me with the tenderest compassion. He endeavors to fill me with hope and talks as if life were a possession which he valued. He reminds me how often the same accidents have happened to other navigators who have attempted this sea, and in spite of myself, he fills me with cheerful auguries. Even the sailors feel the power of his eloquence. When he speaks, they no longer despair. He rouses their energies, and while they hear his voice, they believe these vast mountains of ice are molehills which will vanish before the resolutions of man. These feelings are transitory. Each day's expectation delays them with fear, and I almost dread a mutiny caused by this despair. September 5th. A scene has just passed of such uncommon interest that although it is highly probable these papers may never reach you, yet I cannot forbear recording it. We are still surrounded by mountains of ice, still in imminent danger of being crushed in their conflict. The cold is excessive, and many of my unfortunate comrades have already found a grave amidst the scene of desolation. Frankenstein has daily declined in health. A feverish fire still glimmers in his eyes, but he is exhausted, and when suddenly roused to any exertion, he speedily sinks again into apparent lifelessness. I mentioned in my last letter the fears I entertained of a mutiny. This morning, as I sat watching the wan countenance of my friend, his eyes half closed and his limbs hanging listlessly, I was roused by a half-dozen of the sailors who desired admission into the cabin. They entered, and their leader addressed me. He told me that he and his companions had been chosen by the other sailors to come in deputation to me to make me a demand, which, in justice, I could not refuse. We were immured in ice and should probably never escape, but they feared that if, as was possible, the ice should dissipate and free passage be opened, I should be rash enough to continue my voyage and lead them into fresh danger. I should be rash enough to continue my voyage and lead them into fresh dangers after they might happily have surmounted this. They desired, therefore, that I should engage with a solemn promise that if the vessel should be freed, I would instantly direct my course southward. This speech troubled me. I had not despaired, nor had I yet conceived of the idea of returning if set free. Yet could I, in justice or even in impossibility, refuse this demand? I hesitated before I answered, when Frankenstein, who had at first been silent and indeed appeared hardly to have force enough to attend, now roused himself. His eyes sparkled and his cheeks flushed with momentary vigor. Turning towards the men, he said, "What do you mean? What do you demand of your captain? Are you then so easily turned from your design? Did you not call this a glorious expedition, and wherefore it was glorious? Not because of the way was smooth and placid as the southern sea, but because it was full of dangers and terror. Because at every new instant your fortitude was to be called fresh and your courage exhibited. Because danger and death surrounded, and these dangers you were to brave and overcome." Sorry, I'm struggling today. For this was it an honorable undertaking. You were hereafter to be hailed as the benefactors of your species, your name adored as belonging to brave men who encountered death for honor and the benefit of mankind. And now, behold, with the first imagination of danger, or if you will, the first mighty and terrific trial of your courage, you shrink away and are content to be handed down as men who had not strength enough to endure cold and peril. And so, poor souls, they were chilly and returned to their warm firesides. Why, that requires not this preparation. Ye need not have come thus far, and dragged your captain to the shame of defeat, merely to prove yourselves cowards. Oh, be men or be more than men. Be steady to your purpose and firm as a rock. This ice is not made of such stuff as your hearts might be. It is mutable and cannot withstand you, if you say that it shall not. Do not return to your families with the stigma of disgrace marked on your brows. Return as heroes who have fought and conquered, and who know what it is to turn their backs on the who know not what it is to turn their backs on the foe. He spoke this with a voice so modulated to the different feelings expressed in his speech, and with an eye so full of lofty design and heroism, that can you wonder that these men were so moved? They looked at one another and were unable to reply. I spoke. I told them to retire and consider of what had been said, that I would not lead them further north if they strenuously desired the contrary, but that I hoped that, with reflection, their courage would return. They retired, and I turned toward my friend, but he was sunk in languor and almost deprived of life. How all this will terminate I know not, but I had rather die than return shamefully, my purpose unfulfilled. Yet I fear such will be my fate. The men, unsupported by ideas of glory and honor, can never willingly continue to endure their present hardships. September 7th. The die is cast. I have consented to return if we are not destroyed. Thus are my hopes blasted by cowardice and indecision. I come back ignorant and disappointed. It requires more philosophy than I possess to bear this injustice with patience. All right, lovelies, we're going to stop there today, and we're going to read Robert Walton's last letter to his sister tomorrow because it's a bit of a long one. So I'll see you guys then. Please be safe, make good choices, don't get serial killed, remember to wash your hands, and have a good day. Bye!